His fingers traced the curve of her shoulder, gentle despite the calluses earned from years of violence. The silk robe she wore had slipped, revealing skin that glowed like warm honey in the candlelight. Jade pressed her back against his chest, feeling the steady rhythm of his heart against her spine. "Stay," Kang Do-hyun whispered against her ear, his Korean accent thick with emotion. "Just stay." She closed her eyes, letting herself sink into the impossible warmth of this moment. His arms wrapped around her waist, pulling her closer, and she felt his lips brush against her neck. Every nerve in her body awakened. Every wall she built over 42 years trembled. But walls existed for a reason. "I can't," she breathed, even as her body betrayed her, leaning into his touch. "Can't or won't." His voice dropped lower, dangerous in a different way. Not the danger of the underworld he commanded. The danger of a man who had finally found what he wanted and refused to let go. 3 weeks earlier, Jade Williams had never heard the name Kang Do-hyun. 3 weeks earlier, she was just a pastry chef from Chicago, visiting Seoul for her best friend's wedding. 3 weeks earlier, she still believed that love was something that happened to other people. Younger people. People who hadn't already spent 2 decades building walls around their hearts. But before we dive deeper into this story, I want to wish each and every one of you a happy holidays. Thank you so much for being part of this beautiful Afro Soul Diaries family. Your love and support mean everything to me, and I pray this season brings you joy, peace, and maybe even a love story of your own. Kindly click that subscribe button now as I drop stories every day and you sure do not want to miss out on any. Now, let's get back to Jade and Do-hyun, because trust me, you're going to want to see how this unfolds. The night everything changed began with blood. Jade had stepped outside the wedding venue for air. The reception was beautiful, her best friend Nicole was glowing, and the Korean groom's family had been nothing but welcoming. But something about watching love unfold made her chest ache in ways she didn't want to examine. At 42, she had accepted certain truths. She was successful. She owned her own bakery. She had friends who loved her. She had a life that many would envy. But she went home to an empty apartment. She woke up alone. She had stopped believing that someone would ever look at her the way Nicole's husband looked at Nicole. Too old. Too cynical. Too much. She was adjusting her wrap dress, the emerald green fabric hugging her curves, when she heard the crash in the alley behind the venue. Common sense said run. Go back inside. Pretend she heard nothing. But the groan that followed was unmistakably human. Unmistakably pained. She found him slumped against a dumpster, blood seeping through the white shirt beneath his expensive suit. His face was angular, devastatingly handsome, even twisted in pain. His dark eyes found hers, and something electric passed between them. "Help me," he said in English, though his accent marked him as Korean. "Please. You need a hospital." "No hospitals." His hand shot out, gripping her wrist with surprising strength. "They'll find me. Please. I have money. Anything you want." "I don't want your money." She should have walked away. Every instinct screamed danger. But something in his eyes held her captive. A loneliness that mirrored her own. "Can you walk?" He couldn't. Not really. But with her shoulder under his arm, bearing more of his weight than her 5'6" frame should have been able to manage, she somehow got him to the street. Into a taxi. To the rental apartment she'd secured for her 2-week stay. She didn't learn his name until she had cleaned his wound, a knife slash across his ribs that was ugly but not fatal. Until she had bandaged him with the first aid kit she always traveled with. Until he had fallen into a fitful sleep on her couch, and she had sat in the chair across from him, watching a stranger and wondering what kind of madness had possessed her. His phone rang in his jacket pocket. The screen displayed a name in Korean, but the tone of the voice that erupted when she answered told her everything. Where is he? If he's dead, tell me now. He's not dead. Jade kept her voice steady. But he's hurt. Who is this? A pause. Then, carefully controlled, I'm his brother. Where are you? 20 minutes later, her apartment was filled with men in black suits. They moved with military precision, barely acknowledging her presence as they assessed Do-hyun's condition. The brother, Kang Ji-hoon, was younger but had the same sharp features, the same dangerous aura. You saved his life, Ji-hoon said, studying her with open curiosity. Do you know who he is? A man who was bleeding in an alley. That's all I needed to know. Something flickered in Ji-hoon's expression. Respect, perhaps. Or calculation. My brother is the head of the Kang family. We control certain business interests in Seoul. The men who attacked him tonight wanted him dead. They'll want to know who helped him escape. Fear should have paralyzed her. Instead, Jade squared her shoulders. Is that a threat? It's a warning. You've involved yourself in something dangerous, Miss Williams. Jade Williams. Miss Williams. Ji-hoon pulled a card from his pocket. When he wakes, he'll want to thank you properly. I suggest you accept whatever protection he offers. They took Do-hyun that night, carrying him carefully to a waiting SUV. Jade told herself it was over. A strange adventure to tell Nicole someday. A reminder that the world was larger and more dangerous than her bakery kitchen. But the flowers arrived the next morning. Then the gifts. Then the phone calls from a voice that had haunted her dreams. Have dinner with me, Do-hyun said on the third call. His voice was stronger, though she could hear the lingering pain. Let me thank you properly. You've sent me enough flowers to open a shop. Consider me thanked. Jade. The way he said her name, the syllables wrapped in his accent, made her stomach flip. Please. She should have said no. She was a tourist, leaving in 10 days. He was a mafia boss, a man whose world was built on violence. They were from different countries, different cultures, different generations. He was 35, for God's sake. 7 years younger than her. She said yes. The restaurant was private, the entire space cleared for them alone. Do-hyun stood when she entered, and she saw him fully for the first time, not bleeding, not unconscious. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with the kind of presence that commanded attention. His dark suit was immaculate, his hair swept back from his face. But it was his eyes that caught her. Dark and intense, they tracked her every movement as she crossed the room. You're even more beautiful than I remembered, he said, pulling out her chair. You were half conscious and bleeding. Your memory might be unreliable. A smile tugged at his lips. My memory is excellent. I remember every moment. The way you held me. The way you told the taxi driver to go faster. The way you stayed awake all night, watching over a stranger. Anyone would have done the same. No. His hand covered hers on the table. They wouldn't have. Most people in this city know my face. They would have run. But you didn't know, and when you learned, you still didn't run. His thumb traced circles on her skin. Why? Because you needed help. And now? Why are you here now? She didn't have an answer. Or rather, she did, but it was too frightening to voice. Because something in you calls to something in me. Because I haven't felt this alive in 20 years. Because when you look at me, I forget all the reasons I've stopped hoping. The food smells amazing, she deflected. He laughed, a warm sound that transformed his severe features. You're going to make me work for it. Good. I haven't had to work for anything in a long time. Dinner became conversation that lasted hours. She told him about her bakery, about her dream of opening a second location. About growing up on the south side of Chicago, raised by a grandmother who taught her that love was measured in homemade biscuits and Sunday dinners. He told her about his family, the weight of legacy that had rested on his shoulders since his father's death. About the loneliness of leadership, how everyone wanted something from him, how no one saw the man beneath the title. About his mother, whom he adored, and his younger brother, whom he protected fiercely. Ji-hoon thinks I've lost my mind, Do-hyun admitted. Pursuing an American woman I barely know. Maybe he's right. Maybe. He leaned closer, and she caught the scent of his cologne, something rich and masculine. But I've learned to trust my instincts. They've kept me alive in a world that wants me dead. And my instincts are screaming that you're important. That I cannot let you leave Seoul without knowing what this could be. I'm leaving in 10 days. Then give me 10 days. Now, if you're enjoying this story, I need you to do something for me. Hit that like button, drop a comment telling me what you think is going to happen next, and if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Trust me, you're going to want to see where this goes. 10 days became a whirlwind. Do-hyun showed her soul through his eyes. Not the tourist attractions, but the hidden gems. A noodle shop in an alley where the grandmother who ran it had known his father. A temple in the mountains where he went to find peace. A jazz club where they danced until midnight, her curves pressed against his strength, his hand steady on her waist. He kissed her on the 5th night. They were on the rooftop of his penthouse, the city glittering below them like a sea of stars. He had been staring at her all evening, that intense focus that made her feel like the only woman in the world. You're staring, she said. I can't help it. You're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. She laughed, uncomfortable with the compliment. Flattery won't work on me. It's not flattery. He stepped closer, cupping her face in his hands. His palms were warm, slightly rough. Jade, I have spent my life surrounded by people who want my power, my money, my influence. Do you know how rare it is to meet someone who wanted nothing from me? Who saved my life simply because it was the right thing to do? I'm just a pastry chef from Chicago. You're extraordinary. And I'm going to kiss you now, unless you tell me to stop. She didn't tell him to stop. The kiss was fire and tenderness. His lips moved against hers with a hunger he carefully controlled, as if she were something precious that might break. Her hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer. When they finally separated, both breathing hard, she saw the same shock in his eyes that she felt in her chest. Jade, he whispered. This is crazy. I don't care. I'm leaving in 5 days. Then don't leave. She stared at him. Do-hyun, be serious. I've never been more serious in my life. He pressed his forehead to hers. Stay. Give us a chance. I'll fly you home to handle your business, but then come back. Let me prove that this is real. We barely know each other. I know enough. I know you hum when you're nervous. I know you take your coffee with too much cream. I know you check your phone when you're thinking about your bakery. I know you cry at commercials but pretend you don't. I know that when you laugh, really laugh, it sounds like music. He kissed her again, softer this time. I know that for the first time in my life, I'm terrified. Because you have the power to destroy me, and you don't even realize it. She should have run. Everything about this was impossible. The age difference. The cultural divide. His world of violence and danger. Her world of sugar and flour. They were oil and water. But when he looked at her like that, when he held her like that, she couldn't remember any of the reasons she had built those walls. 3 months, she heard herself say. I'll figure out the bakery. I'll come back for 3 months. But Do-hyun, I need you to understand something. Anything. I'm too old for games. I'm too old to be one of many. If we're doing this, I need to know what this is. His answer was another kiss, deeper this time, possessive. You're mine, he growled against her lips. Only mine. And I'm yours. Whatever complications come, we face them together. She flew home with his ring on her finger. Not an engagement ring, not yet. A promise ring, a band of black diamonds that matched the darkness in his world but sparkled with unexpected light. His people would protect her bakery while she was gone. His money would fund the expansion she had always dreamed of. His love would fill the emptiness she had accepted as permanent. Nicole thought she had lost her mind. Jade, you met this man 3 weeks ago. He's a criminal. He's more than that. He's dangerous. I know. And you're just going to throw away your life for him? I'm not throwing anything away. Jade looked at her best friend, the woman who had found love despite all odds, who had married a Korean man despite the whispers and the stares. I'm finally reaching for something. Maybe for the first time in my life. Aren't you the one who always told me I deserved happiness? Nicole's resistance crumbled. I just don't want to see you hurt. Maybe I will be. But at least I'll have tried. She returned to Seoul 6 weeks later. Do-hyun was waiting at the airport, surrounded by security but oblivious to them all. He caught her in his arms and lifted her off her feet, spinning her like she weighed nothing, despite her curves that had never allowed her to feel light. Never again, he said against her hair. Never leave me for that long again. Clingy, she teased, but her eyes were wet. Absolutely. Completely. Unapologetically. The first month was paradise. She learned his world, met his mother, who was suspicious at first but thawed when Jade baked her a batch of biscuits from her grandmother's recipe. She met the men who worked for him, saw the respect and fear in their eyes. She understood that he was not a good man by conventional standards. The Kong family dealt in gambling, in protection, in activities that straddled the line between legal and criminal. But with her, he was gentle. Tender. He held her at night and whispered plans for their future. He introduced her to Korean cuisine and laughed when she tried to master the language. He told her she was beautiful until she almost believed it. And then the darkness came. Her name was Minji. Tall, elegant, beautiful in the way of Korean actresses. She had history with Do-hyun, years of history, and she made sure Jade knew it. He'll tire of you, Minji said, cornering her at a family gathering. You're a novelty. The exotic American. But when the thrill fades, he'll remember what he really wants. A proper Korean wife. Not some aging foreigner who doesn't even speak his language. Jade had faced down bullies before. She straightened her spine and met Minji's cold gaze. If he wanted you, he would have married you years ago. He was going to. Before you. Then I guess he changed his mind. Minji smiled, and there was poison in it. We'll see how long you last. The seeds of doubt took root. Jade tried to fight them, but they grew in the dark hours of the night, when Do-hyun was called away on business he couldn't discuss, when she sat alone in the penthouse that still felt like someone else's home. She was 42 years old. He was 35, with decades of virility and power ahead of him. She couldn't give him children easily, if at all. She couldn't be the trophy that men in his position displayed. You're quiet tonight, Do-hyun said one evening, finding her on their rooftop. Just thinking. He wrapped his arms around her from behind, chin resting on her shoulder. Tell me. Do you ever wonder if you made a mistake? What? With me. She turned in his arms, facing him. Do-hyun, I'm older than you. I'm not Korean. I don't fit into your world. Your mother has come around, but your business associates look at me like I'm an alien. Minji told me. His expression darkened. What did Minji tell you? That you were going to marry her. That I'm just a novelty. I'm going to kill her. Do-hyun. I'm serious. She has tormented every woman I've ever been with. We dated for 6 months when I was 25, Jade. 25. It was nothing. She was nothing. She refuses to accept that I don't want her. He cupped her face, forcing her to meet his eyes. You are not a novelty. You are not a phase. You are everything I have ever wanted and didn't know existed. But the age. I'm too old for love, he said, cutting her off. That's what you said to me last week. Do you remember? I asked you to move in permanently, and you said you were too old for love. She remembered. The words had slipped out, defense mechanism and deflection. Jade. He pressed his lips to her forehead. I have waited my whole life for you. Not for a Korean woman. Not for a young woman. Not for a woman who fits expectations. For you. Your fire. Your strength. Your kindness. Your curves that drive me insane. Your laugh. Your stubbornness. Your absolutely disastrous attempts at speaking Korean. Every single thing about you. Tears slipped down her cheeks. I don't care if you're 42 or 62. I don't care if we never have children or if we adopt a dozen. I don't care what Minji says or what my associates think. They work for me. Their opinions are irrelevant. The only opinion that matters is yours. He wiped her tears with his thumbs. So I need to know. Do you love me? Not do you think we make sense? Not do you think we can work? Do you love me? Yes. The word tore from her chest like a confession. God help me, yes. Then stay. Forever. Marry me. Before she could answer, the world exploded. Glass shattered. Gunfire erupted. Do-hyun threw her to the ground, covering her body with his. She heard shouting in Korean, the thunder of boots, the crack of weapons. His men swarmed the rooftop, returning fire at enemies she couldn't see. Stay down, Do-hyun commanded, and then he was gone, moving toward the chaos with a gun that had appeared from nowhere. The attack lasted minutes that felt like hours. When silence finally fell, Jade uncurled from her position behind a concrete planter, body shaking. Do-hyun was there instantly, blood on his shirt, but not his blood, not this time. Are you hurt? No. Do-hyun, what? Park's men. His voice was ice. My second in command. He's been plotting with the Lee family for months. They want my territory. They want me dead. Then we need to leave. Get somewhere safe. Nowhere is safe. Not until I end this. He gripped her shoulders, and she saw the war in his eyes. The boss who needed vengeance and the man who needed her secure. Ji-hoon will take you to the safe house. I'll come for you when it's over. I'm not leaving you. Jade. No. She grabbed his face, blood and all. You just asked me to marry you. You don't get to send me away. Whatever happens, we face it together. That's what you said. For a moment, he looked like he might argue. Then his shoulders sagged, just slightly, and he pulled her into a crushing embrace. Together, he agreed. But you follow my lead. You stay behind me. And if I tell you to run, you run. If you tell me to run, you better be running beside me. Despite everything, he laughed. Stubborn woman. You're stubborn woman. The next 48 hours were the longest of her life. They moved through Seoul like ghosts, safe house to safe house, Do-hyen's loyal men surrounding them while he planned his counterstrike. Jade saw a side of him she had only glimpsed before. The cold strategist. The ruthless leader. The man who had killed and would kill again to protect what was his. It should have horrified her. Maybe later it would. But in those desperate hours, all she felt was awe. He was fighting for his life, for his family, for his empire. And he was fighting for her. Park Young-soo, the traitor, had been with the Kang family for 15 years. He had been Do-hyen's mentor, his advisor, his trusted friend. The betrayal cut deeper than any knife. Why? Do-hyen asked when they finally cornered him. Park sneered, bound to a chair in an abandoned warehouse. Because you're weak. Distracted by that foreign woman. The Kang family deserves leadership that prioritizes blood over lust. Do-hyen's expression didn't change. You think loving someone makes me weak? I think it makes you blind. You're wrong. Do-hyen stepped closer, and the temperature in the room seemed to drop. It makes me dangerous. Because now I have something worth protecting. Something worth burning the world for. He leaned down, meeting Park's eyes. And you threatened her. That was your final mistake. Jade didn't watch what happened next. She didn't need to. The sound was enough. When Do-hyen emerged, his knuckles were bloody, but his eyes were clear. He crossed to her immediately, searching her face for judgment. I told you what I was, he said quietly. I never hid it. I know. Do you hate me? She thought about it. Really thought about it. He had killed a man. Ordered the deaths of others. He was a criminal by every legal definition. But he was also the man who kissed her forehead every morning. Who learned to make her grandmother's biscuits. Who told her she was beautiful until she started to believe it. Who was willing to fight the world to keep her safe. I don't hate you, she said. I don't think I could if I tried. Relief flooded his features. He dropped to his knees before her, wrapping his arms around her waist and pressing his face to her stomach. I don't deserve you. Probably not. She threaded her fingers through his hair. But you have me anyway. The Lee family surrendered within the week. Without Park's insider information, their attack crumbled. Do-hyen showed mercy to those who begged for it and ruthlessness to those who didn't. By the time the dust settled, his power was absolute, his enemies destroyed or converted. And through it all, Jade was there. His mother presented her with a family heirloom the day the last threat was neutralized. A necklace that had belonged to Do-hyen's grandmother, passed down through generations. You've earned this, the older woman said, and there were tears in her eyes. You stayed. You fought. You are Kang now. The wedding was 3 months later. Jade wore a gown of ivory and gold, her curves celebrated rather than hidden. Do-hyen waited at the altar, and when he saw her, he openly wept. Strong, dangerous, ruthless Kang Do-hyen, reduced to tears by his bride. I told you, he whispered as she reached him. I've waited my whole life for you. And I told you I was too old for love. Good thing you were wrong. The ceremony blended Korean tradition with American touches. Nicole served as maid of honor, still incredulous but fully supportive. Ji-hoon was best man, his earlier suspicions transformed into genuine affection. The grandmother from the noodle shop catered, and the jazz band from their first dance played through the night. When they finally escaped to their suite, Do-hyen pressed her against the door and kissed her until she forgot her own name. Mrs. Kang, he murmured against her lips. That's going to take some getting used to. We have the rest of our lives. His hands found the zipper of her dress. Starting now. The dress fell. His breath caught. Every time, he said reverently. Every time, you take my breath away. She pulled him to the bed. The world outside could wait. 1 year later, Jade stood in the kitchen of her soul bakery, the second location she had always dreamed of. Her grandmother's recipes filled the display cases, adapted for Korean palates but still carrying the love of the South Side. The business was thriving. Her life was full. Do-hyun appeared in the doorway, as he did every afternoon. He never tired of watching her work. Ready for the appointment? She touched her belly, the slight curve that had appeared in the past month. Ready. At 43, she had assumed motherhood was off the table. The universe had other plans. The doctor's appointment that morning had confirmed what they had barely dared to hope. A miracle. Their miracle. I love you, she said as they walked to the car, surrounded by guards who had become family. You know that, right? I do. He kissed her hair. But I'll never get tired of hearing it. Good. Because you're stuck with me. Forever, he agreed. And if you've made it to the end of this story, I love you so much. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, drop a like to let me know you enjoyed it, and leave a comment telling me what you thought. Do you want more stories like this? Let me know. I read every single comment, and your support means the world to me. Until next time, take care of yourselves, and remember that love can find you when you least expect it, no matter your age. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and I'll see you in the next video.